Get off my fucking porch!
What did they expect?
Seth ain't racist, no.
Looks amazing, right? Well, and hopefully, as part of our egg-cellent adventure.
You seem kind of like a bit wacky. Would you rather, do you have OCD or would you rather have like ADD? It seems like you may have possibly both of them.
I have a right to be in this debate. Now you sit down and let me do my job. And I have every right to be in this debate. How dare you? I have worked very hard.
Welcome, Mr. Blake Campbell, to the Adventures of the Albino Rhino. He's a comedian, met through the wonders of the interwebs through these post-corona times. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, man?
Hey, it's actually Blake Champlin, but that's okay.
Champlin, sorry,
Yes.
I wrote that shit down wrong. I suffer from CRS,
man.
man. I'm sorry. So
Yeah, I think we all got that a little bit, especially
Yeah.
right now when we don't have to. I grew up in Indiana, and I've been doing comedy for. I did it a few times last year, but I was traveling a lot, and so I tend to say I've only been doing it about 6 or so months because there was quite a bit of time I didn't get to do it, but now I'm able to do it regularly. And although this is like my third stint in doing comedy, the first 2 times I did it very briefly, but that was years ago, many years ago, and I quit my job last year, and I started traveling around, and I actually haven't got back into getting a real job yet. Right now I'm stuck, and I'm doing yard work for a little cash, and kind of waiting for things to open back up to figure out what I'm gonna do next. And I have some ideas, but I haven't really set my head on anything at the moment. So I'm just hitting open mics while I can, and until that happens. So
right on.
yeah.
So are you are you thinking about going into just a full-time touring gig, or are you trying to work the 9 to 5 and do comedy when you can?
As long as the money holds out, I'm just gonna do at least this is what I'm thinking. One of the ideas, just keep doing kind of like the odd job thing, and keep hitting the comedy as hard as I can to try to do something with it until at some point that I can't afford to do that anymore, and then I have to get a 9 to 5 gig, and then at least I'll have taken advantage of as much of my time as I could while I had the chance.
I mean, I tell you, man, there's a lot of guys who basically did that, and that's
Yeah.
where they got their start. You know what I mean? Just go find anybody who will let you come and
Right.
give you stage time. You know,
Yeah.
whatever you can do.
Has
Exactly.
Indiana opened up any open mics yet?
Yeah, so for about 3 weeks now, we've slowly started opening up. There was one mic that opened up, I think it was 3 Sundays ago, and then the other mics just started opening up this week. So I've been on. I think I just did my 4th one this week, and I'm doing my 5th one tonight, but that's down in Kentucky. My 5th live one, anyways. But I'm still doing the online stuff in the meantime. Been doing quite a bit of the online mics.
How's that working out?
It's working out pretty well. It's kind of bittersweet. The online mics they're really cool. It's awesome that the community embraced it, and that there's so many available. You could probably do 2 every day if you wanted to. I mean, I just did one yesterday out of England. I'm doing one on Sunday out of England. I did one out of Istanbul. I did a bunch out of New York and California. I've done out of Denver, several out of Indianapolis. I mean, you can do them all the time. The only problem is it can be a little glitchy at times. And I've definitely watched comedians where they'll freeze, their screen will freeze, and then you completely miss a punchline to a joke, and then all of a sudden they're into the next joke. So that's kind of a pain in the butt. But for me, I'm still new enough to this that like I'm really getting something out of it. I think, if you've been doing it a few years, it may not be so much for you, but for me, I'm really getting something out of it because I'm still a little nervous every time I get on, and I'm still, I can actually see myself progressing through just this 3 months, because I'm new enough with it. So I think for me, it's been a big help. And I know a lot of comedians that aren't doing it, and that's fine. They're probably working on maybe their writing or just maybe other projects. I know some comedians are doing videos and stuff now. So, I mean, as long as people are keeping the game up, I think it's awesome. Keeps everybody going.
Yeah, I mean, it's made it easier, I think, for people to connect that probably haven't had that option before,
Sure.
and it's I'm wondering, it's not going to be my gig because I like writing with other people. I think Zoom's great for that. I don't
Yeah.
really dig the virtual online mic as much, but it's good for working out material if all you're trying to do is just get basic reactions from people. At least that's kind of how I take it.
I'm so
Sure.
afraid to be recorded, man.
What?
Yeah.
I'm so terrible right now.
But you know what? There's a couple different ways that you can look at it, though. So, like my YouTube channel, I think has 3 of my sets from so far this year on it. One is the audio only from an actual open mic, and then 2 of them were the online open mics. And I mean, they weren't all that great. I mean, each one had its different pieces that were good and pieces that weren't. But you can either look at it the way a lot of the older comedians look at it, or guys like Andrew Schultz now, or let's see who's another one. Mark Normand, I think, is another one.
Right.
Sam Tripoli. All these guys are like, just fucking put it out there. Put out as much of it as you can, whether it's good, bad, whatever. People may catch you 6 months from now, and be like, oh, this is funny. Let's see what else he has. And then go back and look at your older stuff and be like, holy fuck, this shit was awful. He's come pretty far in 6 months. Man, I can't wait to see what this guy does. So by releasing the imperfect stuff, you're allowing people to see your adventure and your journey, and it lets people connect with you on a much more personal level. And that's kind of the way I'm taking it. I don't care if it's complete crap. People, if I get a chance to put it out where everyone can see it, I'm gonna let everybody see it.
I get it.
Yeah.
You're starting to sway me, but I don't think I'm gonna do it.
It's cool, man. I mean, I'm also a glutton for punishment, and I mean, I was a public individual for 18 years, and then a DJ for 6 years before that. So I'm used to it. I don't really give a fuck. Doesn't matter. Plus, most people I know think I'm an idiot anyway. So I mean, me just recording it and putting it out there on the YouTube or whatever, so whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I don't. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead, man.
I was just gonna say I don't really. I record most of my sets, especially the in-person ones, but I always keep them private on YouTube. I only put them on YouTube just so I can take them off my phone.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm afraid for anybody to see them now. You really want a video? I need to send you a video for a show. Can't you just take my word for it?
Nah, yeah, it doesn't work like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing a show next week, and I'm gonna have to pay for the video for it, but I don't care.
To pay for the video for it?
Yeah, because it's a professionally produced deal from the club. Man,
That's awesome.
I am not angry about it at all. I'm cool with it. They've been shut down for months. They're broke as fuck, and they were pouring money into their wait staff and their cooks and stuff. Like,
yeah.
So
I get it.
whatever. And
Yeah.
I don't have to edit it. It's gonna have, stamped material on it and all that shit. So I know, man, you're a video guy. I know you're a video guy, but
I've been doing video production for 16 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're not going to stop me from recording my own shit.
well, in that kind of an instance, since it's a book show and all that kind of stuff, I mean, you don't really have any choice. It's not like it's an open mic where you can, but I mean,
You take what you can get. You know?
yeah. And
If I could tell you the stories of how many people were like, this is going to be so good for your demo reel. Like, you're going to love it. You don't need to get paid. It's going to be great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
What's the
It's a
point of
great
getting paid,
resume
right?
builder.
That's one of the reasons I've been what podcast was it? I think it was Schultz, and was talking about it a little bit on Flagrant 2, and I think Brian Callen was talking about it too, like Hollywood account. No, it was Bill Burr and Rogan.
Right.
Hollywood accounting.
I know.
Like,
that's what I was taught in college.
Yeah.
That's how I know accounting.
It's like,
yeah.
My wife's
fuck.
like, my wife runs her own business, and she's like, what do you fucking mean? You can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, we can.
Yeah,
We have so
you
many
don't-
expenses.
you
I can make them
totally
up after the fact.
Yeah.
I can make up my own marketing costs.
So you went to college. I noticed in the stand-up set that you sent to me at IU for chemistry,
Yeah.
which is kind of intense. At least you definitely always have something to fall back on.
Yeah, for sure.
What made you A, go to college for that, and then B, decide like, I think I'd rather stand on a stage and make myself look stupid.
It's actually an interesting story. So I was down in Brazil, South America, and I was with I don't know if you know who Dennis McKenna is.
Oh, yeah.
So I was with Dennis McKenna for about and we were talking, and I was trying to figure out what I was wanting to do with my life, and I was in college, but I couldn't figure out what my degree was in, and he convinced me to do a degree in chemistry, and so that's what I ended up getting my degree in chemistry. Turns out I really didn't enjoy college, and college wasn't really for me. But I finished the degree, and I worked in the pharmaceutical industry for 6 years, and I realized that I don't have the brain for that kind of stuff. So that's kind of why I'm getting out of it, but I can use it if I have to, because I have the experience now working in a lab and whatnot. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I actually initially I wanted to get my PhD in chemistry, and I realized I'm really stupid. There's no way I can get a PhD in chemistry. But that's what I learned as I was going through the degree, is like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I finished the degree basically because I was spending so much money. I was like, I just gotta finish this. Actually, I almost quit right at the end, and my dad was like, no, finish. I'm like, okay, fine. But that's where the
lesson. And
Yeah.
yeah.
you made us all look bad by paying your student loans off, by the way.
That was I did.
Yeah, I saw that in your special. I was like, that's not even a joke, man. You're just making everyone be like, what the fuck? Fuck you.
I'm going to take a wild guess. You don't have kids, right?
That is correct.
That's how you paid your shit off.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
You started.
I worked
throwing
really hard though. It's like the only thing that I'm good at. The only thing I'm really good at is like paying attention to my money. That's the only thing I've ever been good at. Being cheap.
It's not a bad skill to have.
Yeah.
I definitely don't have that skill, and my wife really wishes I did.
So that was my number one goal as soon as I graduated college. Is like, all right, I'm paying these loans off. when I was in college, I was a little stupid with money, but when I got out, it's like, all right, number one goal, pay these off. No house, no car, no vacations. I'm just paying these loans off, and that's what I did. But I went way overboard on student loans. I was really stupid about it. So it was true when I said I was 5 times the national average in student loan debt, or like 4 times.
I am.
It was way
totally.
over.
But I had 2 kids, so I had to pay for that.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah, right. You guys sure you want dinner tonight? I mean, I got these loans to pay for. I mean, we can, you know.
You can chew
You
on
want
that
dinner? All right,
shoe.
fine.
you guys want to be homeless for a couple of years? No problem.
Come on, we can do that. Let's go. Yeah.
I
I'm
heard
helping
back
this
in
other
the
guy buy a
20s that
baseball
people
team.
ate shoes. You guys want to try that for dinner tonight?
Yeah, eating shoes.
I
Boil
got
this
some
leather.
leather shoes we can boil.
Dad, this is vegan leather.
Yeah.
Boiling right.
It's still a leather. It's still
But
an
it's like
animal.
the
It's
real
still an
thing.
animal. Just imagine rehydrated jerky.
It's made from broccoli, but broccoli has a nervous system. Oh, I can't eat it. Isn't that true? I've heard that.
Yeah, I heard carrots have an IQ of 4.
I've heard someone say that some vegans won't eat broccoli because it has some kind of a nervous system.
Everything has some kind of system in it. I
system.
mean, like,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get
I mean,
it.
listen. First of all, I'm blown away. How the hell did you meet Dennis McKenna?
I was actually on an ayahuasca retreat.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, down in South America. It was the second time I'd gone on this retreat. So Dennis is really good friends with the guy who puts the retreat on, who also was one of Terrence McKenna's best friends, and they go back to the early 70s. And that's how I met Dennis. And I also met, through that same one, I met Alex Gray.
Holy shit.
And then the next time I went to another one as well, where I met Dorian Yates. So that was pretty cool as well.
Man.
That's not bad. I just want to go on an ayahuasca retreat. You start
those
throwing in those guys, it's like, what?
Have you seen that church that Alex Gray is making?
Dude, it's
no.
amazing. Were you talking about the one in upstate New York?
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy crap. It looks like a DMT. It's a church that looks like a DMT trip.
Oh, that place. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went there. I went there on this traveling last year. That's in Wappingers Falls, New York. It's about 60 miles north of New York City. And I stayed there. The museum it still needs finish. I think he's run into a wall on funding, so it's a really slow process. Like, if you've probably seen the pictures of the outside of what it's supposed to look like,
The rendering,
which is going to look it's going to look amazing. So that picture is awesome, but right now it's just basically a big concrete structure. I don't know what the inside looks like, but the outside, it just looks like someone put a building there and it's just there. But there's a bed and breakfast right next to it. It's still a pretty neat setup. Got some cool walking areas. And so, yeah, I wanted to go to his museum when it was in New York City, but I was never able to go. So I at least got to go see this place. And then inside the bed and breakfast, he's got some of his artwork
It's
displayed. So
it's
really
mind
cool.
blowing. Yeah.
Yeah.
His artwork
For
is
sure.
next level. Like, I mean, listen, I was a huge Tool fan when I was growing up, and
Sure.
I saw him at the Newport here in Columbus, which is a pretty small venue.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
During their I think third album, and man, it blows me away. I can't believe it. Like, what was the ayahuasca retreat you went to? Is it still active?
It is. Unfortunately, the one that I met Dennis and Alex on, I'm not allowed to talk about that one.
Yeah,
It's like
that's understandable.
So-
they don't, because of the experiences and stuff. No, I get you. I've heard a lot about it. Like, I've been looking into it because I'm due for a deep hole.
Well,
but I'm going more for a little bit beyond the hero's dose of psilocybin.
I
Okay.
hear you.
I like the ayahuasca idea, and I've done DMT quite a few times, but I'm going for the super deep 7-gram hole. Because it's been a long time.
You ever
It's
watched?
been a long time, man. Well, good
there's a-
luck with that when you do it.
There's a guy
Yeah, I'm
online,
waiting for the moment. You know what I mean? Because that's not something that you
Oh,
can
yeah.
just decide to hop into. You know.
Yeah.
There's a guy
the one
online
that
called Adeptus Psychonautica. You ever seen his videos?
I have
No.
not.
Oh man, he goes through these like 7-gram heroic doses and explains all the stuff that he saw and shit, and it's pretty intense. He's in
Dude, they're
Switzerland. though.
wild. I've eaten up to 14 grams at a time.
Holy cow! You have bigger balls than I do.
So I'm a I'm a hallucinogen freak, man. Like in my younger days, I remember there's a place here in Columbus, Ohio. Just for one example, it's no longer there, unfortunately. It's called Insomnia. It was like a 24-hour coffee shop on Ohio State's campus. The place was awesome, but it's where
First
all
place
of
I
us.
shot photos at, to be honest, with models.
Dude, that place is so great. That place was so cool. It was basically where all the degenerates hung out at, you know.
Yeah.
And me being one of those degenerates, I hung out there a lot. And we were talking about LSD one day back whenever, back then I could get it fucking any time of the day, anywhere. It's just fucking everywhere. It's crazy. And this kid was like, man, blah, blah, blah. You don't really, you know, have balls to take a shitload. And I'm like, fucking try me, dude. Well, but $100 says I do whatever you want. And he's like, all right, dump the vial on your head. So I did. And there was that. Like I hundreds of hits of acid at a time. I knew some of the
Damn.
people who made it back in the day. I don't know them anymore. But and then other
Holy
stuff
shit.
I can't talk about.
I love the I can't talk about.
Those are
my
the good
favorite.
ones. Those are going to be the private ones, private conversations that I have with
Private
people. But yeah, there was crystal and LSD involved, and just licking it, and it's like I went deep when I was young, so I get the ayahuasca retreat thing. Like I could talk about hallucinogen stories for days. I hung out with some Native Americans out in New Mexico and did a sweat lodge with mescaline, peyote.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was not at the time. It was scary as fuck.
Really?
It's yeah, dude, it was horrifying, but I needed it at the time. It changed a lot of the ways that I thought about a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's what it's there for. And that's why I'm super happy that like these ayahuasca retreats, like what you went on, are happening. I mean, they're happening in Kentucky. Like those are super illegal and are super hush hush. But I know that there's here in the States, there's stuff that's starting to happen. Washington's starting to have these psilocybin retreats. There was actually a medical study done that proved psilocybin can either completely remove or manage PTSD, like even extreme PTSD, like guys that have been to war, that kind of thing. Like there's a reason that shit's there. Now, granted, most of the time whenever I took it, whenever I was young, I wasn't thinking about that kind of shit until the later years, whenever I had eaten so much, like my brain was just fucking out there somewhere.
Well, yeah, and you know about ibogaine? Ibogaine?
I do not.
I've heard of it.
I've heard the
but that's about
term
it.
lately, but I don't know anything about it.
So they have I know in California, I think in LA and San Francisco, they've decriminalized it. But that actually for I think I want to say 30% of the people who take it who are actually addicted to opiates, it cures their opiate addiction completely.
That's amazing.
It's which I mean, you know, if it's anything like a DMT experience, it's like that shit'll cure you from a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It still
Shut
takes
your
work
ego right
though.
off.
Yeah. People don't realize though that even when you take the stuff, you still have to do work. It's not like a miracle cure. You have to put in effort after the fact. And sometimes you got to do that for a long time too. But yeah, I think some people get the idea that it's just some miracle cure, and I don't think that's a wrong impression.
Oh
Sure.
yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, I don't think the introspection that I have in my own life is from hallucinogens, even though it's been decades since I ate any.
Sure.
But if you start flexing that muscle whenever it's available or whenever you're going through the experiences and you don't stop, it's like it's literally a muscle. It doesn't go away.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
you know. And what sucks for the people like what you're talking about, you know, that don't necessarily take it seriously and they just go out and have fun, like that's where the bad trips come from.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're not expecting the insanity to happen, you know.
Yeah.
I've never had a bad trip in my life, and actually, like, one of the most vivid hallucinations I ever had was an out-of-body experience where I fought the devil in downtown Columbus. And like I died, you know, he killed me,
Yeah, he won.
and that would, oh yeah, he totally won. He beat the shit out of me. It was like Doomsday versus Superman kind of motif, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's super vivid in I can still remember, like, it was crazy, you know, and it ended with him throwing me back in my body and was like, just quit being a fucking douche. And I've not really succeeded with that since, but I try, you know, and I never,
Yeah.
so like a normal person who wasn't expecting some off the wall shit to potentially happen, I'd freak him the fuck out. Like,
Yeah.
really
It
freak him
happened
the
to me
fuck out.
once for sure. That's what got started me on the whole path of ayahuasca was just going partying on psilocybin. Had no idea that anything like that could happen, and then boom, terrible night. Screwed me up for a long time.
Well, there are the Zoom
And then
issues.
had these
I love Zoom issues.
crazy.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Frozen.
No, you didn't freeze. You just lagged
just-
pretty bad.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to repeat that
Oh.
last sentence, we can edit it out, the lag part of it.
Okay. So what I was saying was, you know, it was a bad trip for me that got me into the whole other side, because I was just taking psilocybin once, and me and my best friend, we were just hanging out, we were partying, and I had a terrible trip, and it screwed me up for a long time. And that's when I realized that I discovered like Timothy Leary after that, and and then I realized that the whole Alex Gray and Tool thing was like, whoa, check this out. And then that's when I went and visited, because Alex actually posted that ayahuasca retreat on his website. And this was in 2003. He actually was like, hey, I'm going to go do some ayahuasca. Come and join me. I was like, if I don't do this, I'm going to regret it. And so I did. And that started a whole new, different journey in life. And so yeah, bad trips can be a great thing, but man, it can wear your ass out if you're not ready for it.
Oh yeah. Well, it sounds like you had the similar experience that I had whenever I did that peyote thing with the Indians out in New Mexico. Like that's what made me switch from this is just partying and having fun to like I really need to be paying the fuck attention to what is happening when I'm in this state. You know what I mean? It was the only drug I wouldn't mix with anything else, you know, or any hallucinogens. I would fucking do, you know, meth, heroin, coke, ecstasy, and whatever the fuck else that you could hand me at any given time in any given combination. But if I was planning on eating hallucinogens the very first trip, because mine was shit would last months, you know, I'd start eating acid and I just wouldn't stop for like a month or two. But that first night is the meat. The rest of it is just me having fun and enjoying some hallucinations. But you never know what's going to happen that first night.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I mixed anything, you know, that could create such a horrible interaction. I was like, nah, I'm not. I'm gonna have my dive into my brain tonight, and then tomorrow, whatever the fuck happens.
That's right.
I love it.
Yeah.
But speaking of ayahuasca retreats, the one I can talk about is the one I met Dorian Yates on, and that one's called Solterra, and that one's in Costa Rica, and that one's fairly new. they're closed down, of course, like everything is right now. But that's a pretty nice place. And Dorian Yates is a super cool dude, and I can't believe I just said super cool. I don't ever say that. And you know, so we're like we're friends now. I actually went and visited him in Spain after the fact, and but like everybody in that, for some reason on that retreat, everybody just like connected. Unlike the other retreats, everybody got really close and we all became really good friends. So I'm part of my trip last year. I went and visited several of the people on the trip, which was awesome. And we're on a group chat now, and we stay really active on it, so it's really cool. But Soltero is a really cool place. It's in a remote place in Costa Rica. It's beautiful. You've got great facilitators that keep an eye on everything, and I really enjoyed my time there. And I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much if we wouldn't have connected so much. But it's got some pretty intense memories for me now. So I made a lot of changes at that retreat. That was probably the most significant one, actually, for me. So pretty happy about that.
That's awesome.
And Dennis McKenna is on the board of Soltera. So that's why I went there, because I was like, all right, if Dennis is on here, then this place is probably at least somewhat legit, and probably, if not fully legit. So I'll trust that one.
Yeah, I would say you could probably trust just about anything Dennis McKenna puts his name on. I probably would, at least whenever it comes to hallucinogens anyway, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
It's just, and it would make sense that you got the most out of that one at Solterra, since it seems like you had the best connection with the people at that one too, you know what I mean? Like, you can't, it's weird being around people that you don't click with whenever you're on hallucinogens.
Yeah.
Or like being around like complete strangers. That, especially if they're not on hallucinogens, it's fucking weird. You're just looking at them like, what is wrong with you? You're so weird, and like the whole time you're the one who's fucking out of your brain.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because at Soltera, everybody does at least a little bit. The facilitators take a facilitator dose, and this was true at the other place too. But there were some people that came, but they didn't take any. They just wanted to be a part of the retreat, but they didn't take any of the ayahuasca. I can only imagine what it was like for them watching everybody during the ceremonies. It's got to be crazy, because people do some wild things during those ceremonies.
Oh yeah, I've seen some pretty wild shit come from some DMT experiences.
I'm bad.
So you've smoked DMT. I've never done that before.
Yeah, I've smoked DMT. I've taken the analog, or the not analog, the chemical version.
Right.
Cool.
The 5-MeO. I've done AMT, and I've also done 5-MeO AMT.
I've never heard of that one.
I don't think they're AMT. I don't think AMT is as common as it used to be. I've been out of the drug game for almost 20 years, but back in the day, whenever I was younger, AMT is a much more natural occurring version of DMT, and it's not naturally occurring in the body though. So it's a little bit more of a foreign hallucination, kind of like psilocybin is.
Okay.
And then the 5-MeO stuff just lasts longer. You know, that's really,
because DMT used to be totally legal, right? Like,
yeah, it used to be, and there's still natural hallucinogens that are completely legal. It's just you know, whether or not there's a use for them, I suppose. One I know of that's still legal. I'm 99% sure the compound in it isn't. But given that it's in a naturally occurring flower, like, it's kind of hard for them to really make it illegal. Because, like, I mean, there's rich people who have it in their front yard. You know what I mean?
right.
But it's called the moonflower, and the seed pods in August. There's a process that you can go through to get the seeds cleaned and out. And as long as you eat 2 grams of the seeds, I mean, that's going to be I've had the most intense experiences on this shit out of anything I've ever eaten in my life.
Wow.
Like
How long does it last?
Anywhere from 18 to 24 hours.
Okay.
Yeah,
Damn,
it's not short. It's not short at all. You need a babysitter. You have to have a babysitter. The babysitter has to be sober. Normally you would want your facilitator to at least be under the influence of something, but they can't be under any hallucinogens. You will. I've smoked fake cigarettes to the point to where I thought it was burning my finger until I realized it was fake. Drank fake water. I know people who have talked, like, legitimately, I've watched talk to dead relatives for hours. It's
wow.
it's fucking insane. Now, the other crazy thing about it is if you go past 2 grams, so if you jump to the 3rd gram, thinking it's just going to last longer, it's going to be more intense, you're going to end up in the hospital. Now, it's not because you get sick. You just do something, and whoever catches you doing that can't figure out anything to do but take you to the hospital, right? So in my instance, I had 2 people watching me who were sober. I was like, look, I think I can handle the 2 grams. I think I can handle the 3rd. I want to see where that really goes. And they're like, you don't want to do it. And I was like, yeah, dude. Let's see where it goes. I like the adventure. And I ate the 3rd gram. I don't remember any of the hallucination until the next morning. I have no fucking clue what happened, which is really rare for the trips that I've been on. I remember a majority of them. What I've told happened is I left around 2 a.m. In November in Marion, Ohio. So it was cold. I had on a do-rag holding up my dreadlocks and a pair of camouflage pants and some shoes. That was it. I broke into an apartment complex building and went to sleep at the bottom of the stairs. Scared an old person when they came out of their apartment the next morning. So the police and the EMS came out, picked me up, took me to the hospital.
Holy shit.
The next thing I remember after eating the 3rd gram was me in a hospital room wearing a gown, and the first thought was holy shit, I gotta hide my bong, because I thought I had my plastic bong in my pocket, so I'm trying to hide it in the hospital room, and then I start trying to peel quarters off the wall and shit. Then I remember the police trying to figure out how I was so high off of some shit that looked like oatmeal. And then, or if that was even what got me high, or if it was even oatmeal or whatever, and then they were like, who can we have come pick you up? And I had my friend's mom come pick me up, and she was like, you ate that shit, didn't you? And I'm like, yeah. Because she knew. She's an old hippie lady, you know what I mean? She didn't do anything anymore. She had led a clean life, but she fucking knew, what the fuck we were doing. So
fun times,
dude, this shit's so crazy. But I mean, that's just, I like pushing boundaries, I guess. I always have. I pushed that one a little bit too far,
I would say. Peeling quarters off the walls.
Dude, I was so gone.
You're outside, dude.
And from what my friends told me, they said the reason I left was I was going to another friend's house to get some weed at 2:00 in the morning, which makes sense. He had weed and he would have given me some, but I walked in the wrong direction. So
I'm gonna go the opposite way.
Yeah, fuck.
All the way around the world.
All the way. I was gonna walk everywhere. Fun times, dude. Wow. Yeah,
You're just reminiscing in your head.
You have no idea, man. Like, so James has only known me for a couple of months, and me and you, Blake, we only met. But like, it's just wait, man, until you hear some of these stories. Like, the only cool, like, super cool hallucinogen story I have, like meeting Dennis McKenna or anything like that, was when I was in Colorado with the Rainbow family, we found a bunch of government cows. So we were picking mushrooms off their cow patties out in the National
damn.
Forest property, right? And this was around whenever September 11th happened. We actually saw the vice president being taken to NORAD. Like we were 20 miles away, I think,
Oh.
like straight shot from Cheyenne Mountain,
Yeah.
where we were at in
Wow.
Colorado. And after the first night before September 11th happened, it was like a week before, I think. I had found all these fucking mushrooms and shit with a couple other people, and this guy was like, hey, I know this dude who lives close to here who would love to eat mushrooms with us, and I guarantee you it's a once in a lifetime experience. And it's like, sure, why the fuck not? What else am I doing? We're living in a fucking teepee in the woods, man. Like, fuck it, let's go. And it was Hunter S. Thompson. So I ate mushrooms
Whoa.
with Hunter S. Thompson in Woody Creek, and sat on his
awesome.
fucking front porch tripping balls on these like super fresh mushrooms. It was awesome.
That's badass.
Yeah, it was cool. Like he's batshit crazy. But
Yeah.
it was cool. You know, he's the only other person I've ever physically met who's consumed any drugs in the level that I have. So for
Right.
me, it was cool to sit there and talk to him because I could talk to him about experiences I'd had that like no one else has ever fucking experienced.
Man. That must
And
have been
then
fun as hell.
fucking I bawled my eyes out whenever he killed himself. I was like, wow.
I bet.
Fucking that dude was such a beautiful human being. I mean, the way he lived his life, like not too many people can.
Right.
Right.
I've only ever heard of really a couple other guys, you know, like William Burroughs was a writer who lived a lot like Hunter S. Thompson, but his thing was heroin. Like he was the oldest living heroin junkie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Whenever he died, he used heroin his entire life.
I didn't know that.
He died like upper 70s, and just never stopped. Like he was like, look,
That's what
you
happens if
can
you
be
eat
a
good shit.
Well, I mean, you can be his point the whole time is you could be a responsible drug addict, and that's really fucking hard to do, but you can,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, with that stuff it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'm not a very responsible drug addict. I learned that lesson in life. I wish I had that gene, but I certainly do not. I'm very irresponsible.
I used to be. I think I've been away from it for so long, but there's too much of it I don't even have any desire to go back to. I mean, hallucination stuff.
Oh yeah.
I think everyone needs it on some level at some point in their life. They should experience at least once.
Sure,
Even if you
I
just
agree.
microdose for a week, you know,
Right.
Go to therapy for an hour every day after you microdose. Like,
Right. I mean, I think Rogan said it one time. Like, imagine what the world would be like if every cop had taken a hero dose of mushrooms. You know what I'm saying? Like, if everybody was in that situation, the world would be a completely different place.
Yeah.
We'd be rid of all this bullshit that we have to deal with
Sure.
all the time.
I think people would be able to talk through it a lot better.
Right.
You know, there wouldn't be so much of the insanity going on that's going on because we would be able to talk to each other. But then again, I don't know, man. Like, I've done quite a few hero doses of psilocybin, and I don't think a majority of people are in the mindset to be able to handle that.
There's
You
that.
know,
Yeah.
you would have to,
Yeah.
like, people would really have to work their way up to it because the hero dose is only 5 grams.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, that's an intense hallucination, you know, 12 to 18 hours on psilocybin. But yeah, I don't think most people could handle that.
Yeah, I've never taken a hero's dose on psilocybin. The most I've taken is an 8 at 3.5 grams.
Which in and
on
of itself
psilocybin.
is a good experience.
It's yeah.
Sure. I mean, it's still pretty strong. Yeah. I can only imagine what 5 grams, let alone, what did you say you did earlier? 14 grams?
14 is the most I've ever eaten. Yeah.
Good Lord.
Gone.
Yeah.
I'd only imagine
Pleasure
I'd be chucking for an hour.
You know, by that point, I had gotten used to throwing up. I mean, like, ecstasy always used to make me puke, and I used to eat so much of that shit that, like, we'd eat some ecstasy, be walking down the street, be like, oh, there's the puke, and I just would keep walking and puking at the same time, like, not even really.
It's all right, guys. It's all right.
I was
I'm
a
on
pro,
ecstasy.
you know. I was a pro. I was like, don't try this at home.
Holy shit. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, like, a lot of people I think are in a weird mindset. I think you're right. Because, I mean, I've seen people smoking those DMT pens at, like, at concerts and stuff. And I'm like, how the fuck are you doing that right now? Like, how are you standing up even?
Yeah, I don't think I would do that in public, but that's just me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
No, not DMT. DMT, I think doing that in public would be too much like trying to do salvia. You guys ever heard of salvia?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
like
I've done
that shit. Like, there's no way
once.
you can do that in public and still be normal, like, and have people look at you normal.
I've seen people jump out of windows on that shit.
Yeah, I've seen people like go into convulsions. I drove into a Denny's on that shit and drove off. In Madison, Wisconsin.
The statute of limitations on that.
Yeah.
Why would
I
you
didn't
think
really
you could
do
even
anything.
drive on it?
I didn't really do anything. Like, I thought I was going really fast, but I just like nudged it and hit it hard enough to like bounce my head off the windshield and get some paint on the bumper, and that was it.
Oh,
that's hard enough. That's not a nudge.
I didn't break the Denny's, and the cops never showed up, and we left the next morning. So whatever.
I'm surprised there weren't cops already there. In Denny's.
It was the backside where there's no windows and stuff.
Hey, got a delivery.
And it was right across the street from our hotel. I don't know how the fuck. Like, I got so lucky. I should have been arrested so many fucking times. Like, my white privilege must be so fucking hard since I'm an albino. I couldn't have been that guy. That looks.
So I'm guessing you were eating it then.
No, I was not. It was my friends. This is another like instance where people had to piece together what I did the night before. I've got a lot of those. My friends basically surmised, right? So there was green paint on the front bumper. The windshield had like a small spider web in the corner, and I had a dot of red blood on my head. And they were like,
"Oh wow,
the only thing green that's close to here is the Denny's. Did you reckon to the Denny's?" And I'm like, I guess. And when we drove by, like, we looked at it, like, we kind of drove a circle around it because it was sitting by itself in like a little triangle thing. And there was like a spot on the back of it where there was a white patch in the middle of the green paint, you know, the green paint at the bottom. And they were like, yeah, you fucking hit the Denny's. And I was like, yeah, we should probably go. And we left.
Jesus Christ.
Sometimes.
Wow.
I'm
I
much
definitely
more
don't know a
normal.
story like that one.
I've got
That's
billions
amazing.
of them. This is why I'm a comic. Like, how the fuck am I not standing on stage telling people about this shit? Like, that's you know, Joey
think it's the
Diaz
only
pushed
job
me
you
over
can
the
have.
edge. What?
I think it's the only job you could have that you're allowed to talk about this shit.
Yeah, I think I've come close to getting fired from a couple jobs for stories I've told people. It's just I can't keep the shit inside, man. It's fucking too awesome. Like,
Oh yeah.
I don't even know if people can live that kind of a life anymore. Like, I don't, and get away with it and survive in these weird modern times.
Yeah, too many cameras now.
Man, and like, you can't get away with anything anymore.
No. No.
Yeah, my
that's
sister
cool.
my sister has got an app on her daughter's phone. She's 17, and my sister knows where she is at all times, and as long as her daughter has a phone, my sister said the rules are you have to let me have this app on your phone so I can always track you. That sucks.
Yeah.
My sister, when my sister was that age, she was a hellion. So there's no way she would have got away with anything.
Mine too.
But I couldn't do it. I would just say, I'm not having a phone. But then again, as a teenager, I'd probably be like, I got to have a phone. I
Dude,
don't
not
know
even
what
as
I
a
would do.
teenager, man. We have an 8-year-old and she's clamoring for a phone.
My
Oh,
6-year-old
man.
has an iPad,
Insanity.
but you know, it's useful. And my 12-year-old, we track him with his phone, but we don't really track him that much because he never leaves the basement.
Oh, he's still there. Just make sure his heart's still beating, please.
He comes upstairs to eat enough. We know he's still alive.
I get screen time requests enough. I know they're all alive. Only interaction I have.
It's weird being a parent, like especially for me. Like I don't think my wife understands like some of the premises that I have that's written down that she's looked at, and she's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "You're just never gonna understand, and I'm just gonna have to accept that." Like, it's hard for me to be a parent sometimes because I'm like, I really want to control you because I understand why now, but at the same time, I'm like, I remember how I reacted to that shit. I'm like, fuck.
Right.
No one has
Hence all these drug stories.
It's like no one. I was that whole mess of my life, man. Like,
Yeah.
it started. I ate acid for the first time when I was 12 in summer camp and Boy Scouts, and then
Holy
after
shit.
that, I was like, I saw Scarface the year after, and was like, okay, why am I doing this stuff that you guys want me to do? So like the first trips that I had at summer camp had changed my brain enough to where I was like already willing to question things.
Right.
And my mom had always wanted me to be an independent person. You got to be independent and that kind of thing. And I was like, why the fuck? So like my brain got shifted before it started to form. And here I am. So, but then you look at your kids, and you're like, fuck, what do I do? Because I've got this deep thought about life, and I'm like, I want my person to be a normal person, but at the same time, like, you can't just let people this young do what they want.
No.
That's such a bad idea. It's trying to find that line,
I've learned so much from that.
Fucking
I mean,
weird.
I've talked to my kids about it, and it's like, listen, your brain is not ready yet. Like, it's still growing. When you're 25, you can make your own fucking decisions finally. But until then, your brain is continually growing. And if you do anything before that, you're going to damage the shit. Plus, my kids are girls, so I don't have to worry about too much of that crazy shit that we got into.
At least you hope not. I think I just realized I'm going to tell my 12-year-old, I'm like, look, man, you can make most of your own decisions when you're old enough to be freaked out about the size of the universe.
Right. There you go.
Like, that's a really good, that's a good judge point, because I mean, once you hit that point, you realize, holy fuck. And that holy fuck is a hell of a holy fuck. Like, I know you've had it, Blake. Anybody who eats ayahuasca, that's one of the first things that they realize, or any DMT, is they're like,
right.
Holy shit, I don't matter at all. This is awesome.
It's pretty damn amazing.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to ask you about, and I really want to ask you about now that you, I've learned that you're an introspective individual. Like, where's the line for you with your comedy? Like, are you planning on being clean? Are you planning on being blue? Or are you just kind of whatever happens?
Right now, I'm just kind of whatever happens. Because, I'm so new. I don't know where my voice is. I don't know, I'm still not a great writer. I'm not a great performer, but I'm, I can tell I'm getting better, but I have a long ways to go. So, like, my first joke I wrote, and I only wrote it because it was the material I had. It was about the first time I ever saw Ron Jeremy in a porn, and it was based on a true story, and it was really dirty, really vulgar, and I mean, but it was also really long, and I had to cut it way down. But now, like, I'm like, okay, I'm fine with being dirty at times, but I don't want to be dirty all the time. So there's a comedy club in Indianapolis that only allows clean, family-oriented comedy. So I forced myself to start doing like their open mics just to force myself to have to write clean so I can flex that muscle, because I want to be able to flex as many of my comedy muscles as I can to kind of help me fall into my place, eventually find my way. So I'm not opposed to any clean or dirty. I don't really write anything political or religious. I'm not saying I never will, but those aren't really things that I focus a lot on in my life anyways. So I tend to stay away from that. But who knows, 5 years from now, I could be all politics or all religion or whoever or whatever. But yeah, I'm still finding my way. I'm still the infant not having a clue what he's doing. He's just doing it and trying to get by and manage.
Well, man, I mean, you sounds like you got a pretty damn good head on your shoulders, and you're certainly looking at it the right way. I mean, not putting a limit on yourself. I'm stuck with one. I'll be blue until the day I die. I just can't.
Oh yeah.
I can't. I can't help it, man. My personality's too far gone that way. So,
Sure.
But that's a part of comedy, man, is accepting who you are and finding ways for that to connect to people.
Yeah, exactly.
So is there anything you want to promote, brother? I mean, you got any shows coming up maybe that you want people to come watch at? I mean, now that you guys are opening up kind of like we are, I mean, anything specifically where people can come check you out, follow you?
I mean, I'm on Facebook, Blake Champlin. I'm on Instagram, although I don't use it very much. Also at Blake Champlin. I think it's Blake.Champlin. I'm still just hitting the open mics for the most part, although I finally got my first non-open mic out of an open mic I did in New York City online through Michelle Durant, who runs some of the Laughing Buddha comedy out of New York City. She's putting on an online mic here on the 27th, which is a Sunday, June 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I'll be performing on that, my very first non-open mic. So I'm really happy about that.
Awesome.
And then July 10th, I perform. This one isn't for sure yet, and I can't even remember the name of the place now. So I just got this one last night from an open mic that I did. This one will be in Indianapolis. I can't remember that one, so now I'm lost on it. But it'll be in Indianapolis. It'll be a non-open mic as well, somewhere on the east side. But I should have had that prepared before I got on here, but wasn't thinking about it.
As long as people can find your stuff, man, just make sure you let people know, otherwise they can't watch you.
Yeah, I stay pretty active on promoting my stuff on Facebook. So even if it's just open mics, it helps me keep my head in the game. So sometimes it makes me feel like I have a big head. I'm promoting open mics, but I think that's good for venues. If they're nice enough to let you perform, I should be nice enough to put their name out there. So I try to do that.
I agree. Well, thank you, brother. We
Hey, thank
appreciate you
you
coming on.